Okay, so I'm mostly finished with this project as far as where I wanted originally to go with it. The only other thing that I wanted to add was rotation to the cubes, but with how that's set up right now, it's going to take me a long time to get that configured and up and running to change the way that we draw the rectangles and everything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and go in a different direction with it, and I was wanting to do kind of like a matrix drop down thing. But I decided against that because that would require me using a custom font, which I don't have. Well, I have a version of it, but there's no open source Google font or anything like that for it. So, unfortunately, we're going to have to go a different route. But we can still do a similar thing. So, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to start out by showing something new. I'm going to show you how to do a gradient because I want to draw a gradient background. Then we're going to look at some booleans. We're going to create a boolean for a digit, 1 or 0, as a string. And then we're going to do a boolean for the color. So, and then for part 3, we're just going to apply those two. I'm going to show you how to put it all together. So, yeah, I think we can go ahead and get started for that. The idea is to create a matrix-like drop-down majigger where it follows the cursor and it drops down a 0 or 1 that'll be either green or black on a background that transitions from green to black as it goes up. It'll look all right. I figure it'll be pretty neat for the amount of time, at least, that we've put into it, which really, when you consider it, is not that much. This can take you under a couple hours to develop all of this. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is, I said first I'm going to introduce you to gradients. So here's our background for canvas that's drawn first, and then we have another background in here. So I said this was for debugging only, so that we could get rid of it and then just have a white background. But I'm kind of thinking that I want to go ahead and include this because we're going to do a gradient here. So background for canvas, and it's not for debugging only. So I'm going to declare a variable here, and I'm putting it, actually, I should put this at the modular level. So var grd. When you only have one gradient, I like to just use grd for gradient. And this is the object that's going to go ahead and hold what we have here. So I'm going to go in here. Might as well declare this at the start. Var gradient. Let's declare this after the array. So context dot create linear gradient, and x0, y0 is the first starting point, and then the second. So here's my point 1. It's going to draw a gradient to here, and then we're going to add gradient stops along the way. So you can draw, like, for instance, I'm not used to this being backwards, from here, 0, 0, to canvas width, canvas height over here. And that's, or here to here. That would have been a lot easier than trying to point at the webcam. So that's the idea of where these numbers are coming from. So you can partially do an instance if you're just drawing a line that only requires a gradient to go from, like, the inside of the square to the outside of the square. You could do that. But for here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say, I'm going to start at the bottom. X doesn't matter, so I'm just going to put 0. Y, and then I'm going to do canvas dot height. So this will put the starting point down here. Now next, I'm going to say X again doesn't matter, and I'm going to do 0. Now I'm going to take grd, which is my variable for the gradient, and I'm going to do add color stop. There we go. I forgot to say GRD equals that. So GRD add color stop offset is the point value. So 0 is going to be starting at the beginning. 0.5 is going to put this stop in the middle, and then 1 will put it all the way at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and do 0, and the color that I'm going to choose is green. And this is not going to look good because it's going to be a neon green. But just for showing the point, 1 and then black. I usually like to use just like these quick markup names for colors when I'm doing something really quick to just show something. Later I'll go back and I'll always use RGB or RGBA values, because quite frankly those are the best. Hex is over. It's all RGB now. I mean, if you only have a few colors you're using for the whole site, hex would be alright. But when you want to get a little more complicated and you want to have more control, then you want to use RGB. But hexadecimal's valid, but I'm going to say that it's going away. It's on the way out. So we've got our gradient, and now we just need to use this gradient in the fill. So instead of background for canvas, instead of saying gray, we're going to say this is our gradient. And here we also want to say GRD. And now we've got our gradient. It didn't render at the start because GRD is established down here. So I'm going to pull this down here, delete some white space, get rid of this for debugging only, and now we have our background working. That actually didn't turn out too bad for that green. Oh, I was thinking RGB values. If you use RGB values for green, then it's the neon green because it's pure green with no other influence. This isn't true green. If you look up the RGB color for this, that's not what it is. My bad. Slight mistake there. So that's how we go ahead and we use gradients. I'm going to refresh, make sure that it's still working. Now our text, we cannot see that anymore. That's no good. I'm just going to go ahead and say, instead of black, white. There we go. And now we get our frames per second every time we move. So let's move on to our next topic. Our next topic, I said, was going to be booleans. So what I want for this is I want two booleans, var number and color. I'm going to use CLR because color is used in code. Although I'm not sure if it's used in JavaScript. I know in other languages I've used color as a library. It's already not a library, but an object type. You'd say color.green, color.blue. That's another version of JavaScript. I think that's only JavaScript for Unity, but just I don't want to mess with predefined stuff. So now instead of drawing a rectangle, notice I saved this as another one. I'm going to draw a 0 or a 1. So we're going to do some text. And since we already have this, why not just go ahead and grab this and paste it here. Now, normal, 15-point Helvetica, fine. FPS, and then for our location, booleans is what I'm supposed to be teaching right now. So we added the booleans number and clear, color. That's really all there is to know about booleans. There's true and there's false. That's what a boolean is. It's 1 or 0, true, false, positive, negative. It'll return a value of 0 or 1. So I'm going to move to the application of the random boolean. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to part 3. This is going to be another really quick one. We're at 10 minutes, and there's not much left to do. So instead of drawing squares, we're drawing numbers. You can see right now nothing's happening. This is drawing up there as well. That's why we're getting this jumble of text up here. So for context.fillText, we're going to have something else. We're going to put some new values in here. So square dot I'm going to do these over here. So what do we call these? Number and color, CLR. So we're going to put these over here where we're doing all of our random stuff. Sorry, I'm getting a little sidetracked because it's 1:20 in the morning. I'm trying not to do tutorials like this anymore. I did that with some of my Unity ones and I get off track really quick like I am right now. And so I'm trying to avoid that. But I'm going to take my number and it's going to be math.floor math.random times 1. And that should be able to return a value of 0 if I'm not mistaken. Otherwise, I have a solution for that. Square dot number equals number square dot color. See how it's popping up like there? I want to add something else. Equals our color. So now every time is getting 1 and then a color. So in here, we have our boolean, which is 1 or 0. Let's go ahead and print out what this is each time. Say number. Plus. And I'm getting 0 every time, so it looks like it's not including this. So 2. Now I'm getting a random 0 or 1 every time. Number equals, so it's getting a integer value in here. Doesn't really matter if it's an integer value or a boolean. That's really fine. I explained what a boolean is. You should know what a boolean is if you're into this kind of stuff. So we've got 1s and 0s aplenty. Context.fillStyle equals if number. No. No. What am I doing? It's late at night. I'm going to pause while I think about this. Alright, I thought about that for about 12 seconds. I'm going to say in here, here's where I'm going to put the if statement inside the while condition. So I'm going to say, or the while loop, if shapes draw index dot number dot color equals 0, context dot fill style equals white. And I'm going to say else context dot fill style equals green. Black. Why is it giving me an issue here? Because I'm using the wrong thing. And I didn't close this. There we go. Fill style equals black, else fill style equals green. Context dot fill text. And it's just drawing it up there. So we're going to say this, the location of this. I don't know why it's not falling down though. See what we did in our physics function here. Shapes.draw index dot y. Let's see here. Shapes draw index dot x. Shapes draw index dot y. And the text that we're writing is either a 1 or 0. But there we go. I just put XXX for the time being, because we haven't done this yet. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do another if statement. If shapes draw index. No. Yes. Yes. This is why you don't program at 1:30, guys. I'm so sorry. This is quite unprofessional. But it's a project, and I'm trying to help you out with whatever you want to do. But you know where I'm going with this, so you can probably leave now if you want to. But if you want a refresher, you can go ahead and stay. So if shapes.drawIndex.number equals 0. We're going to open this up. Context.fillText equals that. I'm going to close this up here. And then I'm going to say else. And I like putting this is how I do my if then else statements, is I do my if and then I open up the bracket and then I close on the same line that has this content on here, the if parameter, and then I take the else and I open it up and I just write on the same line. It's just something that I do. It's something that keeps everything organized and something that I recommend to other people, because it's easy to follow and you know when you conclude an if-else statement, because you just throw this at the end and then you leave a blank space and it's all wonderful. Don't do that in Python though, or it will not work out for you. Trust me. Trust me. And else my statement is going to be, it's pretty much this. Except instead of that, it's going to be 1. This is going to be 0. And now we're drawing zeros and ones that fall down with our cursor. So I want to go ahead and make this bold. Because that's going to be easier to read there. And I'm going to make it a little larger. And by a little, I mean double. And now we're dropping zeros and ones all over the place. Drop them zeros and ones. So that's the idea that I was generally going for, zeros and ones. Falling at random, and you can see the ones kind of look like they fade away at least. And if you hold it up here, it looks like the ones and zeros fade in from black. So that's pretty cool. Using the background to our advantage, we can make it look a little more sophisticated than it actually is. So that is the end of this tutorial. As of right now, I don't have any plans to add any content to this. If my professor says that maybe I should work on it, I will. But I have another project that is a line drawing project that I want to have trail off and write it similar to what I did here, but with some garbage collection. If I work on that, maybe I'll go ahead and post some tutorials. Otherwise, I think that it might just be some more of the same stuff. So that's the end of this HTML5 Canvas interactive tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you thumbs up if you like it, thumbs down if you don't, and subscribe. So I'll see you guys next time.